Hi, and welcome to today's podcast. This is Michael Becchio with Brilliant Perspectives. Today's episode is from our current Brilliant TV series, Sacred Space. In this brand new series, Graham guides us through his personal meditation space, sharing stories of his creative process, collections of art, sculptures, poetry, and music that have been instrumental in his walk with God, and about how he partners with the Lord in developing his books, talks, and all the material he creates. This has been an exciting series so far. In this particular excerpt, Graham shares how to disempower disappointment in your life circumstances.
So the first thing I'm going to talk about is a disappointment. Because when we got these offices here, this was 2 offices and there was a door about here. And so what I wanted was to knock that whole wall down and have one big space. But then we found that this section of wall here was load-bearing, so we couldn't actually take that wall down. So now all the thinking I had about this space was like, can't do that, because it's like I've got this obstruction here that I can't do anything about. And so I'm asking the Lord, so did I not choose the right office? You know, because you always want to question yourself, right? Because we're human. So, and I didn't feel that. I just felt, peace. And so that wall bothered me. And I went back to a time, the Lord took me back to a time when I was landscape gardening. And I got this call from a guy who was a landowner and had his own estate and everything. And right there in front of his manor house, in the rear of his manor house, where his garden was for the children and everything, there was an underground stream. And so all the ground was boggy, and you couldn't grow grass on it, so it looked unsightly. And he'd had 4 companies come in to put a drainage system so that they could clear all the water out and lay some turf and have a lawn. And he'd spent, hundreds of thousands of pounds, and this was 30 years ago. And he was not best pleased. And so the 4th one, it looked great. 3 months later, the water's back, So anyway, somebody gave him my number, so he called me. And I went out and he told me the story, many expletives because he was annoyed, used to getting his own way and all that stuff. And he said, so what are you going to do about it that's different? I said, the first thing I'm going to do about it is I'm going to pray about it. And that really set him off. I mean, if he was swearing before, he was like, the air was turning blue. So I said, no, I'm not going to say anything until I've heard from the Lord. So for 3 days, I just prayed. And then I just heard the Lord say, this is the first thing he said is, Graham, if you can't change something, make a feature out of it. So I think, that's great, grasshopper. What does that mean? I mean, that's kind of cryptic. What does that mean? He said, what's the problem here? I said, there's an underground spring. He said, yeah, so water's the problem. Why don't we make water the solution? So I designed this water garden. I built a little island in the middle of it all, and then we had a bridge going over it, and lily pads, and all of that stuff, and a walkway that went around it. So we turned it into a feature. And so I went back to him and he opened the door and he said, so what's the big fella telling you? And I said, he told me that if I can't change something, I should make a feature out of it. And so I told him the story and he went, So I built this water garden. And he threw this enormous party for all of his wealthy friends and so on. And I got invited. And now, somehow mysteriously, I am this genius who speaks to God. It's like, dear Lord, the things you get me into. So here I am, fast forward 30 years, and I have this wall. I can't change it. So I made a feature out of it. I wanted to turn what was a problem into something beautiful. But here's the first thing you have to do, is you have to disempower your disappointment. I was disappointed with that, because I had a vision for this whole space and now I couldn't have it. So I had to disempower that disappointment. Otherwise, if you don't disempower it, then it's still speaking to you. So when you disempower a disappointment, you can hear God and you can see things that you couldn't see before. So I got talking to a friend of mine, Tucker, who's a craftsman carpenter. And I said, well, why don't we design? I was thinking about putting like bookcases around it. And as I was talking to Tucker, he just got really excited and said, why don't we find wood that's got a live edge like this, all these little knots in it, And he said cherry wood, because cherry wood smells brilliant. And would you believe this bookcase is not screwed into the wall? It's all freestanding. And it's an absolute joy. It's an absolute work of art. So I love this because this is a focal feature in the room. And to me, it's a constant reminder of what God is really like, that he can change anything into something, and he can turn what is a deficit into an asset.
Wow, what a glorious mindset to lay hold of. If you'd like to hear more incredible stories from this series and see the pieces Graham is talking about, you can watch anytime with a subscription to Brilliant TV, our online relational mentoring community. All our members receive unlimited access to the entire Brilliant Perspectives video library, ongoing relational mentoring through Graham's teachings, and the thriving Brilliant community. Thanks for joining us, and have a fantastic day.